We are live. Howdy, everybody. Aaron Boster here, and thank you for learning about MS with me. It is Saturday, about 2:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I just wrapped up a pretty dynamic clinic. I love Saturday clinics. Still in my office, and I had a hankering to talk to you. I've got a research article that's top of my mind right now, and I really want to go over it with some folks here in this growing global online village. I'm going to give a few minutes. Hey, Christy, how are you? Chrissy, I want to allow some time for some people to jump online, and I want to see if I can spend a little bit of time talking to you guys about a research article that is really top of mind right now. Aid, how are you? Fremen, it's nice to see you. Desiree, how you doing? Stephanie's here, Becky's here, Erica's jumped online, Jenna's here. Guys, as you jump online, tell me where you're calling in from. I love this growing global online village. Tell me where you're logging in from. Where are you logging in from? Siberia, UK. I've got folks in Mexico. I love this global village. You got folks in California, Montréal. J'adore Montréal. C'est probablement ma ville préférée, carrément. We've got UK, Sacramento is in the house. Got folks in Canada saying hello, howdy, hi. There's 80 of you that have jumped online. That is really, really awesome. Now, I have something planned today. It's a little bit impromptu, yes, but I'm going to spend a little bit of time reviewing a research article with you. Matt, one of our wonderful moderators, is online. Matt, how are you doing, my friend? We've got the Portuguese beauty who's lighting it up with flames right now. Aaron is in the house. OSU Med Center. Whoop, whoop. We've got a lot of great people from all over the place who have jumped online. And I want to say hello, howdy, hi, and thank you. My name is Aaron Boster. I'm an MS neurologist and the founder of the Boster Center for MS, where I just did an awesome Saturday clinic. I want to go over a research article with you guys. Christina Poole is there. Hello, Christina. I hope that you're doing well. I hope that your family's doing well. I've got Kato Woman in Siberia. Now, if you guys are ready to review this research article with me, I want you to light up the chat with flames. So you guys know the drill. Go ahead and light the whole chat up with flames. Let's get the whole thing fired up with flames. As soon as we get that whole thing fired up with flames, I'm going to know that you are ready to hear about this article. So there you go. Rock Chick has it. D Hook has it. Nancy's in the house. Jenna's lighting it up with flames. Desiree's got it going on. Here we go, guys. All right. That's what I wanted to see. Thank you all very much. Now, if you would look at the chat, I'm posting a link to an article. All right, I'll just put it up there again. So if you click that link, it's going to take you to a free downloadable article that I'm going to be reviewing. Now, I tried to figure out a way like to post it on the screen and stuff. I haven't figured out how to do that very well. And so I don't really know how to share the screen. So I'm going to be talking about the article. But if you would like to follow along with me, I've posted a free link right there. So this article is entitled Treatment Escalation versus Immediate Initiation of Highly Effective Therapy in Relapsing Multiple Sclerosis. So basically, this is a comparison of the traditional escalation model in MS, which I personally find flawed, against the initial application of highly effective therapy. So we're going to be comparing a group that started on a low efficacy medicine and then they escalated as things didn't work out, as compared to starting straight out on a high efficacy medicine. This article was published August, so a month ago, August 16th of this year. So it's a very fresh article. And this is not a report of a double-blinded, placebo-controlled, active comparator clinical trial. It's not. It's actually in some ways more relevant to me. This is an evaluation of two national strategies, okay? So there's two different European countries, Scandinavian countries. One is Denmark and one is Sweden. Now, Denmark and Sweden both have socialized forms of healthcare. They have comprehensive national registries. They're literally able to track almost their entire population's health. It's something that we're not really exactly able to do here in the United States, but they do it very, very well over there. And that's really valuable to us because the Danish registry, the MS registry, captures over 90% of all the Danes that have MS. So that's a national capture. And the Swedish registry, so the registry for all patients in Sweden with MS, captures over 80%. So when we're talking about these large national registries, it's massive amounts of information. And the reason this is so cool is Denmark made a decision to escalate. Like the way that they're approaching disease-modifying therapy is using Aubagio first line, teriflunomide first line with an escalation model. And that's the way the entire Danish medical institution treats multiple sclerosis. So you have not one, not two, not 10, not 100 people, but in an entire country of people with MS that are being treated in a very similar fashion. They're being treated with an escalation model in Denmark, where they start them off on a low efficacy drug. And then if things are okay, they're okay. And if they're not okay, they escalate to a more efficacious therapy. Now, at the same time that the country of Denmark is using a national registry to track 90% of the patients, and they're using an escalation model, at the same time, Sweden, which is right next door, took a different approach. They use a lot of off-label rituximab, and they use it first line. And so they're using a model where they're more apt to start people right away on a highly effective therapy. And the entire country is being approached in a very similar fashion. So this creates an awesome opportunity to learn something. We can see if the entire country of Denmark with their escalation model fares better as compared to the entire country of Sweden with their start with a high efficacy medicine early on. And that's what this evaluation is. And so I think this is really, really contemporary. I think it's very real world. I think it's very applicable. And I think it starts to answer a burning question: which is more important, the escalation model or the early highly effective model? And so patients that were included in this analysis were between 18 and 55 years of age. They had to start on a disease-modifying therapy for relapsing MS. And the period of investigation was starting in 2013 all the way to 2019. So you have a swatch of 2013 to 2019, which is a very contemporary group of people. And they started the evaluation when that human started their first DMT. And then they follow them moving forward. And this study was looking at neurological examinations and specifically the EDSS, so the disability status scale. And it was looking at time to reach disability blank. So how long does it take to reach disability 4? How long does it take to need a cane to ambulate? So on and so forth. And they were able to do this with thousands and thousands of people. Now check it out. The Swedish registry, which uses a early adoption of highly effective therapy, had 2,700 people in it, 2,700. So that's a larger sample than any clinical trial ever, right? And that's just one arm. That's the Swedish arm. So that's 2,700 people. The Danish arm had 1,966 people. So almost 2,000 in the Danish arm and almost 3,000 in the Swedish arm. So these are huge samples, really, really big. And that's very good statistically to be able to look for differences. Now, what's interesting, when you get into the nitty-gritty of how the different countries treat, the Danes start most everyone on Aubagio, 42%. And the majority of the folks that don't go on Aubagio go on interferon, 30%. So 30 plus 40 is 70. So you've got like 72% of people that are starting off on first-line therapies in Denmark, either teriflunomide, Aubagio, or one of the interferons. Now, in the Swedish group, there still were people that started off on first-line therapies. In fact, 65% of the Swedes started on first-line therapies. Only 34% started on highly effective therapies. And if you combined all the let's call it 40%. So here you have a population in Sweden where there is a percentage, not everyone, but a percentage of patients that are starting on a highly effective therapy. Now, how frequently were the Danes putting people on highly effective therapy starting off? Almost never. And so you have a group of Danes that are starting people on first-line therapy and then escalating. And you have a group in Sweden where the majority are still going first-line, but there's a big chunk, 40%, that are starting off on highly effective therapy. Now, the outcome measure for this clinical trial was confirmed disability progression, meaning I see you and your exam shows changes, something got worse, and then I see you 24 weeks later and it's still a problem. So 6-month confirmed disability progression. And that is a very standard definition used in clinical trials. And we're using it here in this observation. Now, we also looked at confirmed improvement, so 6-month improvement. And then we lastly looked at the time it took to hit EDSS 3, which is a disability milestone, and EDSS 4. So those were what we looked at. And let me summarize the results for you. Again, if you're following along with the paper, you can pull up Table 1. And Table 1 has a lot of this information in it. Let me get to there we go. Okay, so if you look at some of the outcome measures, they really support Sweden. So Sweden wins this evaluation if you look at relapses, because the people in Denmark were way, way, way more likely to have an attack compared to the people in Sweden. And no matter how you sliced and diced it, whether you looked at 2013 to 2014 or 2015, 2016, so a little bit earlier, it's very, very clear at each time point, no matter how you look at it, that there are less clinical attacks in the Swedes and then in the Danes. Why? Probably because they started on highly effective medicine early on. Now, that's not the money. That's not what we were most excited about. Remember, what we were most excited about was actually the disability progression. So let's turn our attention to the disability progression now. And I've got to figure out, there we go. Okay, so let's look at disability. And what we find is that the Swedes again win. Compared to the Danes, the Swedish treatment strategy resulted in 29% less disability accumulation. So you're 29% less likely to end up disabled if you started off with highly effective therapy in that Swedish style of treatment as compared to the Danish style of treatment. That's a really big deal. It's a 30% effect size for the country. Now, if you look at improvement, there wasn't a statistically significant difference. Okay. Now, if you look at milestones for disability, again, the Swedes win. The likelihood that you hit a disability milestone is 24% less likely if you were using the Swedish protocol. Now, what does all this mean in English? This is real world data. It's not a clinical trial, all right? So they're not cherry picking perfect patients or something like this. They're looking at the entire country of Denmark with almost 2,000 people that started low and slow and they escalated. And they're looking at nearly 3,000 Swedish folks that started about 30% on highly effective medicine. And the Swedes won every single metric we looked at. They had less attacks. They had less accumulation of neurological disability. They were less likely to hit disability milestones. And all we did here was skip steps and go straight to the good stuff, as opposed to subjecting people to low efficacy medicines and then seeing if it works out. And then if they have an attack, i.e. if they have brain damage, then they escalate. And this study speaks volumes to me. It answers some questions that we've been asking for a long time. Which is superior, the escalation model or early application of the highly effective therapy? And the answer is early application of highly effective therapy. My name's Aaron Boster, and thank you guys for letting me jump on with you. I was really, really excited to share that with you. And if you found that interesting, or even if you found it not interesting, please leave a comment in the section below, because I would enjoy going over our important articles like this with you using this format if it resonates, if it's something that you think is really cool. Let's take a few minutes and see if there are any questions about this treatment escalation versus immediate initiation of highly effective therapy article. So if you have a question, go ahead and type it in the chat. And I would be very curious about your thoughts on this. Camila writes, Rituxan between 2013 and 18, then my body couldn't take it anymore. She's Swedish, primary progressive MS. I've got Inan that writes, I asked many times to my doctor to start Ocrevus. The answer was always, no, you're not that bad. I'm happy things are changing. I also am happy that things are changing. And I want to commend you that you wanted to jump out of the box swinging with the most effective drug that we could. Kim says, I started on Copaxone in 2018 until I lost my insurance last year. Haven't been on anything since. Now, Kim, here's the dealio. If you don't have insurance, you can get on almost any drug, because if you don't have insurance, the manufacturer will give you free drug. So please don't think that means that you don't have access to healthcare, because you can still get on a DMT. And so I hope that you will ring up your friendly neighborhood neurologist and say, hey, listen, I don't have insurance, but I want you to help get me on a free drug. And they will. The Beach says, thank you for sharing. I'm grateful. I hope that you like that format. I thought this was a really relevant article. Now, Becky G says, this has been your approach, and now you have a study to back it up. Becky, you're exactly right. I've been preaching the importance of the most effective drug that you're comfortable with for a long time now. And I've often been met with resistance from old fuddy-duddies and silverbacks and old neurologists that beat their chest and talk about the ancient days of yesteryear and these old medicines that don't work as well as these new medicines. And so I am in love when I see that we have evidence to support what to me only makes sense. Now, Juna Sorensen writes, I started with beta-serin, went to Tysabri, was diagnosed. All right. So that's an escalation, getting onto a really, really good drug. Paul writes, is Kesimpta considered highly effective? Yes, Kesimpta is considered a highly effective medicine. So Emra asks, which highly effective DMT at the beginning is best? Correct. Let's see here. So Carol writes, diagnosed in 2015, started on Tysabri. I'm loving that. Then Ocrevus. So Carol has spent all of this time on the most effective medicines in that high efficacy class, which is going to mirror the Swedish results and probably going to be a lot better. Kim's starting Ocrevus. That's awesome. Cato writes, type 1 diabetes and Ocrevus. Should I be worried? Not in my clinic. I don't find that to be a problem. Gina Riley writes, I was diagnosed with relapsing MS in 2019. Put on Rituxan was my best option to prevent progression. So grateful my neurological pharmacist team for being forward thinking. I agree. That is a heck of an awesome way to start MS on a B-cell depleter like rituximab. Terry G writes, there we are. Diagnosed in 99, started Avonex. I wish I knew about better drugs. I'm currently on Ocrevus. I'm glad that you've escalated. And imagine that if you just skipped the Avonex and started straight out on the most effective drug that was available, I really think that's what we need to be doing with this field. Furman Diego writes, I'm currently at the hospital, 3rd round of Lemtrada. Go, Furman. Awesome sauce. One of the most effective drugs that's available in the world to treat MS. So Adlai says, that was amazing. I wish my old docs had known that a long time ago. Well, Adlai, thank you for the feedback. I'm really glad to know that this is a cool way of sharing an article. Of course, I would like to do a better job of like publicizing that I'm going to be talking about it. Maybe I'll, with enough forethought, I can do that next time. But I'm glad to know that this was something that you enjoyed, because I would like to do more of this. So it says, do you know the average of the people age in the trial? And so let me look. I don't have it memorized, but I can pull the article back up. And let me do that, and I'll see if I can answer the average age. So give me a second. I've got this article saved on my desktop. I'm scurrying around on my desktop trying to pull it up for you. And let's look at the baseline characteristics. Give me a second. Here we go. All right. So the baseline characteristics will tell us the average age in the Danish cohort was 37, and they had MS on average like 4 years. And the average age of the Swedes was 36, so a year younger, and they had MS on average 3.5 years. So very, very similar in that regard. That was an excellent question. And again, if you look in the chat, I've posted the link. You can click that link and it'll take you to the article. It's a free link. It's a free article. And so I definitely hope that you'll check that out. I've only been on for like 20 minutes. This is so cool. There's 162 of you online. I just love that. There's 85 thumbs up. Now, if you like what we just did, do me a favor and push the thumbs up button. You may have to step out of the chat, hit thumbs up, and then jump back in. Do that for me and let me know that you really like the article discussion. Let's see if we can get that up above 100. That would be really, really cool. We almost have it there. A couple more. Yeah, show some love, guys. That's awesome. And do me one more favor before we move to the next thing today. fill up the chat with flames one more time. Go ahead and flame up that chat for me. I love seeing all the flames. It tells me that you like what we're doing. It gets me all fired up. So how about some flames in the chat, if you could? Nobody's showing me some flame love. Let's get some flames in the chat. There we go. We got some flames going on. Becky and Chrissy have it going on. Inan has it going on. Paula Smith is in the house, and Rock Chick 21 has got some flames. Let's get the whole thing filled up with flames. Okay, I'm loving it. That's awesome. That's awesome, guys. Thank you very, very much. I want to take a few more minutes and answer some questions. Now, Jason Bell says, does anyone else think, well, no shit. Well, Jason, that's a good point, that it may appear like it makes perfect sense. Of course, we would expect that the most effective drug is the one that you're going to do the best on. But I have to tell you something, Jason. Doctors don't think that. A lot of neurologists that treat MS think that starting with a high efficacy medicine is still weird. So whereas you and I are like, duh, a lot of old school neurologists are very, very nervous Nellies, and they're very, very concerned that you could explode or something. And so whereas it seems like a straightforward thing to you, I am very keen on helping other people grow to learn that it's the right thing to do, because not everybody accepts that. Are there any other questions? I got a lot of flame love. I'm loving that. So Ina writes, what about reserves, Dr. Boster? My expectations, early nightly effective DMT, better to keep and maintain the reserves. Yes. So we're talking here about functional reserve. And this gets into the brain's ability to withstand an insult like a fever or an infection or some other big serious issue. Your nervous system has to be able to handle that. And that we refer to that concept as the functional reserve. And so, for example, as you age, your functional reserve shrinks. So when I was 18, I could skip a night of sleep. Now, in my mid to late 40s, saying that to you out loud makes me feel tired, right? My functional reserve isn't what it used to be. Someone with MS may notice that they get really tired as the day goes on. Their functional reserve peters out and they don't have a lot of oomph left over. Or they have trouble thinking towards the end of the day when they've been really working hard. And this is using up your functional reserve. And until they sleep and recharge their battery, they're not going to have it back. Now, what we're talking about here is, could you maintain the reserve? I like to say preserve the reserve. You want to preserve the functional reserve. And the earliest application of highly effective medicines, in my opinion, is one way to do that. And I think that this article that we just reviewed kind of solidifies that point for us. Excellent question. Very well put. Christina writes, Lemtrada has been wonderful. Stop progression. If newly diagnosed with relapsing, could they start with Lemtrada? So Christine, that is an excellent question. Everywhere in the world except the United States, you can use Lemtrada first line for aggressive disease. Here in the United States, the FDA said that you have to break through 2 drugs before you can get on it. Now, you can appeal to an insurance carrier in the United States and say, listen, guys, here are the reasons why we must do that. I need you to consider skipping steps. And sometimes they will agree to do that. Now, unfortunately, sometimes they won't. And it's a real pain in the tush, because the earlier we use a medicine like Lemtrada, the better people do. That's a fact. And so it really hurts my heart that we can't use such a highly effective medicine until third line here. It's just not right. So Kitty MS writes, are they going to stop treating older people because they're stable? Well, I hope not. I hate that, Kitty. Now, there's some MS neurologists that I think maybe like fell and banged their head and they got a crazy idea that they should be ageist, and that if you reach a certain age, then they don't need to treat you anymore. Now, it's based off of the idea that your immune system quiets as you get older and that you're less likely to have an attack. But that's dumb for a lot of reasons. Number one, you still can have an attack. And so you want to take a DMT, not because you're going to have them frequently, but if you're older and have an attack, you may not bounce back. So you're still on this insurance policy of sorts to prevent a future attack, because you're still at risk. And you're at risk in a more severe fashion if you have one, because you may not recover. But DMTs do more than that. Come on. DMTs also slow disability progression. And if you are in the second half of the disease, so to speak, if you're older, you're at higher risk of progression. So wouldn't you want to be on a medicine to slow that down? The answer is yes. Also, MS causes accelerated brain shrinkage, atrophy, and the MS medicines slow that down. So there's a host of reasons why we want you on a medicine. And maybe the reason you're stable is because of the medicine. So I do not agree with stopping medicines just because someone reaches a certain age. Now, I do think that it's reasonable to consider de-escalation. De-escalation is where you would say, okay, we're going to go from this high efficacy medicine that maybe has side effect profile that scares us as you get older, and we're going to drop it down to a good medicine, but has a better side effect profile, and it's not going to create as much of a risk. So let's look at a couple other questions. Gina writes in, my care team told me that even if I started with first line, I would end up on Rituxan or Ocra sooner than later. So if your care team knows that, then they shouldn't waste time on something that's not going to hold your disease at bay. And I think that you go right to it. All right. We are at 25 minutes. This has been a short live stream, but I want to say thank you to all of you. I was really excited to share this article with you. I've posted the link to the article in the chat, and so you can check that out. If you're watching this video after the fact, not during the live stream, but you're watching the replay, if you look down in the comments section, I have the link posted there so you can click it. As always, my name's Aaron Boster, and I want to thank each and every one of you for jumping online today. I want to thank you for learning about MS with me. And until my next video or my next live stream, or the next time I see you right here at the Boster Center for MS, be safe, guys, and take care.